uh, start the recorder and then get ready to do the other stuff that we talked about. All right. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and people that will be viewing this on the replay, and for Carl Walsh, who will be presenting Level 5 Presentation Mastery Project, the Professional Speaker. This is a 20-minute speech, and the introduction title is The Oval Table, Feed Your Business with the Brain Power Around You. Carl, the floor is yours.
It was the worst night of my life up to that time. I had just finished the opening night of my first Shakespearean lead on stage in London. Now you can imagine what it's like for an American to do a Shakespearean lead in London, right? Where you can look down into the front rows and you see people mouthing the dialogue as you go. You cannot make a mistake. But no pressure, right? It had been a disaster, absolute disaster. I figured my career was over, it's all done. And I went up to the bar upstairs. And if you'd been there, you'd have seen that about 3 feet away from me over on this side was the director at the bar. He had not given us one note during all our rehearsals. He had sat in the back of the room drinking beer and kept saying, "Oh, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine." And we were trying to put this play, which is a very difficult play, together. There's nothing wrong with the cast. My leading lady is now a knight. She has been knighted in England by the Queen. She's a terrific actress. I did very well in LA. Nothing wrong with the cast. But we just had no direction. Nobody was communicating to us. And so as I stood there at the bar, he turned to me, mug in hand, and he said, "What do you suppose went wrong?" I am slow to anger, but I swear, had murder been legal that night, there would have been one in that bar. So what did go wrong? Well, it's pretty simple, really, pretty basic. Communication. There was none. And how could we have fixed that? How could we have dealt with it? Where did we fail? We failed because we weren't communicating with each other. We could have taken control of this production, which he was handing to us basically, and we could have worked through it, but we didn't do that. And so many businesses run like that. And don't get me wrong, theater is a business. It is a business, and the same rules apply there as apply in any business that you can point out to me. So what I'm going to talk about this morning is how we can avoid that kind of problem. So what's the best way of communicating in a business? Do either of you have any ideas on that? You can unmute yourself, shout it out. You got, what's a great way to communicate?
The point.
Sorry, what was that?
Being clear, go to the point.
Okay, good. Andrew?
One thing not to do is overload people with emails or meetings.
Okay,
decide whether you need to have an action or a discussion so that you can move forward. You've hit a stumbling block, but be clear on what you need from your people.
Right, very good. So some of the answers that I get are email, management by wandering around. That's a very popular concept these days, and it's not bad, by the way. Actually, going around and talking to people, one-on-one conferences, and then of course there's leadership addresses to the staff. That's another way that people like. I'm going to show you a different way, and that's what we call the oval table. Now, The oval table is actually a very simple concept. And by the end of this, you're probably going to slap your forehead and say, well, why haven't I thought of this? The oval table is where you get your people actually around a table. Oval is a great shape because no one's at the head then. Round table, if your room is featured for it. But you want to get the right people around the table. That's the trick. And we have identified 7 business personalities that we feel are necessary to have at your table. Now, depending on the size of your business, you may not be able to get all 7 there. That's okay. Get as many as you can. The mistake that a lot of people make is they only talk to the people they like. They only talk to the people who think like they do. They only talk to people who agree with them. That's not what you want. This is not what the oval table is about. You want the 7 personalities. Some people think, well, I want the guy that's kind of charismatic, that is no emotion involved. That's a popular idea. Someone that is detached from the day-to-day, can see things. And there is a name for people like that. They're called sociopaths. Look it up. But that's not the person you want at your table. Now, I want you to look at these characters. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to do that. Look at this group and tell me which one speaks the most to you. Don't worry about the color. Don't worry about the, oh, I had a dog that was just like that. Just take a good look at each of these characters, everything about them, what they're wearing, what sort of jewelry they might have, things like that. All right. Okay. Since we've only got 2 people here, I'm going to ask you which ones that appeal to you, Donna? And you can be more than one. Sometimes people are in fact 2.
Well, the 2 who crossed my mind, I like the one who I think is a detective badge and the one with a pencil suggesting thinker.
Okay.
Those are the 2 who hit out.
Great. Andrew, how about you?
I like the dog in the center, the 3rd one from the left with the glasses, and the other one, the Scotty with the Monaco glasses.
Okay, great. You like eyewear. Okay. Well, let's go through these characters and let's see if that matches up with who you are. We actually have a lot of success with this. Almost everybody finds out that they chose the characteristic that they are. All right, first of all, we start over on the left there. We've got Stan. Stan is the reality enforcer. He's got all the institutional memory. He's been there for a long time. He remembers everything and all the things that they did and the outcomes from them. You'll find him in strategic planning or accounting. A lot of accountants are Stans because they need convincing. They don't accept anything at face value. And then we've got Jack. Jack, he's the get her done guy. Jack, he knows what, how, and why to make things happen. You'll find him generally in production. But here's the thing about Jack. You got to be careful. He knows how to get things done, but not what should be done. That's somebody else's job. Just tell me what you need. I'll figure out how to get it done. That's Jack. Buster. Okay, Buster's the rainmaker. He's really important. He's the party dog. He's the center of attention. Nothing's impossible because he says so. You'll find him in sales, right? You probably recognize Buster. He can be really annoying at times. He's fun to go to the bar with, to go to a party with, but sometimes he can really get on your nerves. He delivers energy every time, regardless of what he knows. But he's essential because he brings in the revenue. Big Dog. Big Dog's the keeper of the flame. He's the conscience of the business. He's a coordinating leader, loves to see others achieve. He listens to everybody. He has wide experience, not particularly deep experience, but he knows a lot about a lot of things. That makes him a great translator for all the other dogs. When somebody says something and the other dog is, kind of scratching behind their ear there, Big Dog can translate and tell them what that dog said. Tracy. Tracy is driven by seeing the good in people. Tracy is slow to anger, fast to help. She's sympathetic and uses suggestion to guide people to their conclusion. She doesn't tell them what to do. She leads them there so that they can figure it out themselves. You want to leave the social events to Tracy. Tracy wants to do the birthday parties. Tracy wants to organize the picnics. Tracy wants to build an environment that is conducive to human beings within a company. Some professions where you will find Tracy's are police, firemen, nurses. You can probably think of a lot yourself. For instance, teachers. A lot of teachers are, in fact, Tracy's. But here's the thing about Tracy. Other dogs, they often don't recognize the importance of Tracy, which is a big deal to Tracy. Tracy wants to be loved. She wants an environment of love. That's why she creates these environments for people, but often she's not recognized. Ranger, contemplator in chief. He dreams without consideration of what is possible. You'll find him in corporate planning, and you'll really find him in innovation. Think Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs knew what he wanted, had no idea how to do it. That was other people's jobs. And he would outline what he wanted. They would say, but Steve, that is impossible. And he'd say, that's okay, make it done. And they would. Often has second thoughts, though, Ranger does. He'll go down a path of innovation and then hit a point where he's thinking, oh no, was this the right thing to do? I'm not so sure. Maybe we should have gone down this path. That's why Ranger needs the other dogs. He needs the other dogs there to agree on a plan and to stick to it, because Ranger will take you down multiple paths at the same time. Scotty. Scotty has a constant focus, and his focus is risk, which drives people crazy. Nothing gets overlooked, fortunately. He's in quality control. He's in compliance. He may be an attorney. Scotty doesn't miss a trick. He gets everything. But let me give you an insight into what's going on inside of Scotty's head. The world is coming to an end, just not sure when. And this is what he sees. Now, the important thing about Scotty, though, and why he is so important, is he keeps you from driving the plane into the ground. He's the guy that will keep you safe. He'll come up with things that, frankly, probably aren't even possible. But he'll raise the flag, and everyone will recognize that, yeah, we need to be aware of that. Don't think it will happen, but we need to be aware of it. And Scotty will keep you within the rails. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that is what we have here, the Oval Table team. Every single one of these characters is necessary. You want to have as many at your table as you can find. But let me ask you real quickly, what, in your opinion, who is the most important one? Who's the absolutely essential dog? And you can go ahead and unmute and tell me what you think.
Tracy.
Donna?
The one who puts a team together.
Well, that would probably be big dog, I think is what you're referring to. He's the moderator. He keeps everybody on point. I'm going to give you a gold star, Andrew, because yes, most people will not choose Tracy. I did this the other night, and I had a whole bunch of people and not a single person mentioned Tracy. See what I said about Tracy, often not being recognized by the other dogs. But Tracy is the one who makes it all livable and lets you hold on to the people you want to hold on to. Keep them coming back to the office every day with a smile on their face. Absolutely essential. So now you have the oval table. What do you do with it? It's just a tool. And like all tools, you got to use it correctly. You don't use a hammer to sew a dress. You don't want 8 accountants sitting around a table designing a sofa. You're not going to get a sofa. But you got to use this tool correctly. So we have developed the 7 essential criteria for what we consider to be a healthy business, a business that is doing it right. Number 1. Oh boy. Sorry about that, folks. This is there you go. Let's do them one at a time. Huh? What do you say? True profits. All right. You need to have true profits. You need to have money in the bank. Companies play all these accounting games, reporting EBITDA and EBITDA and all that, where they sweep all kinds of expenses under the carpet. They say, yes, we're making lots of money, but they're not keeping any of it. And if you don't keep any of the money, you can't do anything else that I'm going to talk about here. True profits are essential to the health of a business. You can't keep going to the bank. You have to have expanding sales and marketing and margins as well. Margins, that's how you get your profits, right? And you expand your sales. You must have them. Just a few stats that I will throw at you here is that the statistics for small businesses failing, 20% go under in the first year, 50% by the 5th year, and by the 10th year, only 1 out of 3 of those businesses is still active. If you don't have the true profits, well, we find that 29% of small businesses fail because of cash flow. They didn't have the cash to continue operating. So that's why those expanding sales and margins are so important. Innovation. You may come out with a great product today that is nobody's ever thought of. Everybody's got to have it. But you know what? In a few years, someone else is going to come out with a knockoff that's cheaper. And they can mass produce it better than you can. And all of a sudden, you're out of business. So you have to keep innovating. And a company that is not moving forward is a company that is dying. Never forget that. Develop and take care and grow your employees. Take care of them. You know that 23% of small businesses fail because they don't have the right people in place. People leave because they don't have a good Tracy in place. A lot of times that is the case. You got to communicate with customers. 42% of small businesses fail because they don't know their market. They don't know their customer. We had somebody come to us and say, I would like to start an embroidery shop. And I've checked and there isn't one within 20 miles. So we looked into it. You know what we found? There's a reason why there isn't one in 20 miles. Nobody wants one. So you have to understand what your customers want and be there, be where your customers are. Partner with vendors and suppliers. You've seen the supply chain problems that we're having now, right? All those container ships off our shore here in California. You better be working with your vendors. You better be working with your suppliers because things are very tight right now. And you better know where you can go to find another one if yours can't supply what you need. Honesty and integrity in all things. Do I have to tell you what that is? Be straight with your employees. Be absolutely straight with your customers. If a customer accidentally overpays a little bit, call them up, tell them. They might say it's maybe a small amount, business to business. They'll say, don't worry about it. It's fine. Your answer is no, it's important to us. And we're going to send that check to you. They will remember that small price to pay. They will remember that you did that. I'm going to add one more thing to our list, and that's to listen to the Oval Table podcast. It's a weekly podcast where we bring experts who have been there, done that, and they share with us their expertise. Mine's better than ours, frankly. And they share with us how to create a successful business and the stumbling blocks. We also encourage you to read We Are Alpha Dogs, a book by Douglas Bowers, who is a co-founder and co-host of the Oval Table podcast. You do these two things, you can start your own business. And if you've already started your own business, you'll know how to make it a successful one. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to send us an email at ovaltableteam.com. And then we'll see you at the table. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very, very much for your presentation. We'll take just a few minutes where you can talk about how you got your ideas and
Sure.
a little bit. Did you ever meet Mr. Bowers before you went into business with him?
I've known Douglas for a long time, and he's been working on his concepts, which a lot of this is based on, for many years. I've known Doug for at least 11 years, maybe more. And we've been, he's during that time been running all his ideas past me and other people in order to get it right. In fact, a great example of how an oval table works, when earlier this year, when he was ready to put the book out, he had a contest through a company for a book cover. It went out to lots of artists to come up with a cover for the book. He got well over 100 submissions. A lot of them were pretty good. And he settled on one and said, I really like that. But he, of course, knows the importance of the oval table. He asked a lot of other people, what's your idea? What do you think is the best one? And all the rest of us landed on a different book cover, the one that you saw. And he said, well, if that's the case, then that's the book cover I'm going to use. And that's a perfect example of the oval table at work.
Okay. I'm going to deliver your evaluation. It's a green at 2 minutes, yellow at 2:30, and red at 3. And I don't have the benefit of having 5 minutes. I could do an evaluation contest to put everything together, but I will do the best that I can in a short period of time. And I see that my chat box is going. Okay. And Donna put down that your talk was 21:45. I actually got 22 minutes on a separate.
Close enough. Okay.
All right. So let me just not distract myself and turn my chat box off for a second. Okay. Uh, and let me just start the timer now. Fellow Toastmasters, dignitaries, guests, and especially thank you to Carl Walsh for this interesting and stimulating presentation, the title of which is The Oval Table. Feed your answers
Feed your
with the
business.
brain, feed your business with the brain power around you. Okay. This is a speech from the Presentation Mastery Pathway, and it's level 5 professional speaking. I want to just start off with a couple of things that I liked, what I observed visually, what I heard actively, and how it made me feel. First off, I thought that you did a great job in engaging the audience. You did this by doing some interactive gaming play when you went through the 7 personalities and you asked many questions. Let me go to the very beginning of your opening. You were engaging, and we had a presentation discussion of the background. The background that you chose now was excellent. The only question I would add for you would be to consider whether you wanted to deliver it new style, sitting down, or whether you wanted to be standing up. You had use of some gestures, but at the same time, if you were standing up and gave yourself more stage room to do stuff with, it might be more effective.
Interesting.
Other,
I was standing. I'm still standing.
okay, then I would pull the camera back because
Yeah.
it has you at like a 68 where you're very, take up most of the space and it looks like you're fixed.
There,
Um,
that's that. How's this? Because that's the best I can get. That's all the room I have.
yeah, that'll give you more room for
You
moving
like that?
around.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good. Good. Thank you.
All right. Uh, the other things that I liked was you had great vocal variety, and the best part was your pausing and timing as you enunciated everything very clearly. The other thing that I would make a recommendation, however, is this. Your presentation contained a lot of very, very valuable material. And if you write like me, trying to get everything in, you might go crazy and wind up with stuff that you can't read after you finish the presentation because you're trying to write so fast. What I would say in your beginning opening segment would be I'm going to provide access to all this material to you. So
Mhm.
put your pens down, observe what you can observe, get from it what you want to get from it.
That's
In
a
some,
great point, and Andrew, because I am going to provide that, but I should say so. You're right.
right.
Great point.
Uh, and now I'm about out of time. I wanted to say that in summary, the really great thing that I like is that you had a clear message and you had a call to action, including going to the podcast, the author's name, and how to get to you. Back to you.
All right.
So I did that in 3 minutes and 27
Yeah. Thank you.
seconds.
There's some great points there, Andrew. Thank you.
The what you could do in terms of the handouts is you could almost create it in a postcard fashion. And the front of the postcard would be the dogs with the title, the oval table,
The oval table,
and
right? Hmm.
underneath the oval table, I would have the email for getting to like one of those Bitly or any of the other
Hmm.
URL shorteners, and have how to get to the podcast and how to get to the other site to purchase the book or to get on a newsletter mailing list for sharing ideas or what.
Do you think that because it's on all major platforms, it's iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, Google, all of that. If I were to say that it's available on iTunes and all major platforms, would that be good enough?
Yes. And actually,
Okay.
they took podcasts off of iTunes, so
Well,
podcasts are now
yeah,
separately.
it's Apple Podcasts or whatever they call it
Right.
now. Yeah.
What the newscasters say during the networks are, we now have a podcast. You can get it wherever you like to get your favorite podcast,
There you go.
Apple or
That's a good
whatever.
way to say it. That's a great way to say it. Okay, good.
So that would be one thing. So you want to have it that it's easily portable, and people are not intimidated by tremendous amount of paperwork to delve into it. So a
Right.
simple, card with the pictures of the dogs that
Yep.
remind them with the dogs' names,
Mm-hmm.
and have underneath it the URL shortened bitly to get to the main takeaway, which is follow up with developing community and podcasts, and to expand on the community aspect, because it sounds like you wanted to engage people and build up your business community, is
Absolutely.
you might want to have a website where they can join to get the community newsletter or communications and be part of the community's posting and stuff like that.
Yes.
I didn't hear that before, but something
No,
simple,
you're
just
absolutely right.
that,
You got it. Yeah.
you know, so that might be helpful. I certainly would love your slide deck, because I think this has a lot pulling from the personalities. You had 7 pulls from the main 4 personalities that you have in the DISC
Mm-hmm.
structure.
Right.
But that crossover would be helpful. The other notes I put down was that I liked your pausing, you were conversational, the message of communications was key to the business's success. You had towards the end where again you were heavy on the statistics, together with the 7 uh, steps or 7 essential things. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Copying off of Stephen Covey, you might have a separate card for that as
Mm-hmm.
well, which
Well,
is
how about we put that on the flip side of the card,
yes,
on the
yes. So
back of the card?
yeah, that would cover both
Yeah.
of those main issues, since they're really 2 different points, and that's
Mm-hmm.
the other. Oops, sorry.
Oop.
Stop, stop, stop. Stop. Okay, so stop it. Oh.
I do the same thing. I'm sitting there looking at my phone going, stop it, cut it out.
Yeah. Siri hasn't gotten that sophisticated yet.
No, she
But
hasn't.
but the thing is that your training and presentation really is more than one talk at one time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and that whole game thing that you have of picking out which dog and why,
Mm-hmm.
and you covered a lot of important points. It went really too quickly for people to develop it, to remember it well, which is
Mm-hmm.
why if you said at the very beginning, get what you can on the first pass. You're going to get a copy of the slide
Right.
set, and for a fast reminder, there's a card that you're going to have or can download a PDF that has both sides
Mm-hmm.
that we talked about that you can design,
Good.
and that way they can put it right in their pocket. And okay, I forgot everything I said, but I do remember the dogs. Okay. Uh,
Yeah.
and some people might actually be saying, well, now that you're thinking about the oval table, I wonder about King Arthur's court and his round table, and were the personalities of the different knights different, or were they just there because they were all his friends and they were strong and full of integrity and honesty and stuff like that? I don't know the parallels there, but you've spent time in England, you would probably have a better appreciation for that than
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would. But in terms of the category of the strengths, as I talked about before, you had great presence. You were engaging, looking at the audience. I think the background change made a world of difference
Great. Okay.
because of your positioning now, which is in the center, but you have more room to come in and out, as
Mm-hmm.
well as to use your hands. That would be an improvement. I think that the the talking about businesses run through communications and how vital that is, and then you hit them with the statistics, and then that bleeds into the oval table team and the things that are essential for a business to succeed and not fail. And so that also could be worked into the opening or the closing when you're talking about the message that you're delivering about the importance of communication, saying, in this speech, I will leave you a document that we're going to cover at the end of the seven essential keys to preventing your business from failing. So that's an attention grabber right away, because you're speaking to a business community, and your two key messages are that communication is essential, that the makeup of the personalities around you in the decision-making structure is critical, and then here are the 7 critical elements to prevent your business from failing. Those are all messages I want to take home and remember. So those are 3 messages I want to take home, and there's just so much energy and so much information that I was getting, I won't say anxious, but I was getting to the point where I was concerned, was I taking enough notes? You know, would I get a copy of the material? How could I apply this to myself? And you might just have one line on how you can incorporate this into your own business so you are not one of those businesses that fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And fortunately, with what we're doing, this group meets weekly, and they have a 30-minute, somebody come in and do a 30-minute talk. Fortunately, Douglas is going to follow up the next week and get deeper into it. But I think your suggestion with the material is going to help prime them even more for when Doug comes back the following week. We have a thing that it's kind of like a curve that we place businesses on and say, okay, these businesses, they're not going to make it. They're going out of business. And if we get over to the right quadrant, what we call the right quadrant, those are businesses that are ready to really take off. And then you've got businesses that, well, they're making money. They can't help themselves. They're just making money. So I should probably save that for Doug. Let him give that information and material out, but I can prime them for it. I can set the table.
The other thing that Donna wrote, I'm not sure if she's still with us. She's having recording issues, and this is still blinking as a recording. One thing that she made a very good recommendation on is, when you look at me, I have that Toastmasters thing in the logo. I don't know if you have a logo for your business or not, but she made a great recommendation to have perhaps the oval table.
I will do that on this background. Yes.
Your name and a contact point, whether it's a phone number or an email, so that it sits in your background throughout the course of your talk, and you can say near the beginning, rest, relax, don't worry that you're not going to capture everything. You're going to get everything that you need. But more importantly, if you look at our background here, here's my name, here's my phone number, here's my email, and you can contact me anytime after this is all done. And that will put people at rest.
Yeah, good.
And more relaxed.
Yep, so I like that.
I don't know if those things are helpful, not helpful.
They are. They're extremely helpful.
But I enjoyed it very much.
So logo and contact to background. Well, of course, I didn't know I was going to use this background, so I did have it on my other one. But and I show it on the last slide, but I like your idea, the contact. I like your idea of, well, let's just show it through the whole thing. That's a good,
and the reason for that is that people are ADD. They may say, well, I can squeeze this in during
Yeah.
5 other meetings, and I'll start it, but then I may have to leave. If you have the information right at the beginning, they'll know how to contact you, and
Yeah.
particularly they will stay if you have incorporated into your slide deck at the end uh, not only your CTAs, but something that they can get from you, but only towards the end. So you're saying,
Hmm.
so you can mention a reward for those people at the very beginning. He says, we're going to present a lot of material, but I want you to relax because you're going to, for those of you that make it to the end of this, we're going to have a way for you to get all the stuff downloaded to you.
Hmm.
And that would then raise their eyebrows and say, I got to stay to the end of this thing. It's sort of like all the infomercials I get. They
Yeah.
have this great piece of information that they want to share with you that relates to the stock market. And then you have to go through a 45-minute video presentation and in the end said, but sign up for my newsletter.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
and,
won't, I will not do those. Yeah. I hate that.
right. But you understand the point I'm making. The point that
No,
I'm
no,
making.
you're right. You're right. And we do have a place that they can go to, and with the added benefit, and I was trying to figure out how to do this, but you just solved the problem. Um, we want to capture their contact information. So I want them to send an email to us, and we will send them the material, and then we will capture their email.
Right. And so what you can do is do a combination of those two things.
Yeah.
What you can say is that at the end, and Donna just pointed that out as well, at the
Mhm.
end of the presentation, you are going to post the access for a Google form that captures all of their information, what they got out of the presentation, what
Hmm.
would they ask if they had an opportunity to get involved in a dialogue,
Yeah.
and also identify which pieces of information that you're planning on sending would they like. Would they like the card, the flip card that has the dogs on one side
Hmm.
and the seven things on the other side? Would they
Hmm.
like to be included in the newsletter? Would they like to uh, go onto the podcast? Do they need more information about anything like that? And if you have it in a very simple thing, the Google form, then they can check off all the different things that you
Hmm.
have. And just like we do with the TLIs and other stuff in the Toastmasters, at the end there is an exit survey that allows them to have value. So you can
Yeah.
mention it at the very beginning because these people in the business community may not be familiar with not only virtual meetings but doing the exit pollings
Hmm.
right then and there. And that way you build right into the talk the fact and allows you to condense a little bit the fact that you're going to be doing this at the end so that they expect that to be coming. They look forward to filling it out because filling it out is the only obstacle they have between not getting all that great information and getting that great information.
Hmm.
So that's a great recommendation from Donna, and I
Yeah. Good.
appreciate her
Great.
thoughts on that. Okay,
Great.
so and then you can look at the other thing that was a time issue is that the personalities of the seven dogs. You have to ask yourself the question: the interaction and the ability. If you have a larger group of people, you can imagine how many people will be making their comments and how much time that eats into it.
Mhm.
If you have no problem with time in your presentation, you might not worry about
Well,
that. But if
since
time is
since this will be a large group, what I do in that situation is I just let a few people comment and then move on. Fortunately, we only had two here today, so that was easy.
right, but if you look at the entire presentation, which was, as I said, I enjoyed it very much. I learned a
Mhm.
lot. But if you look at the whole presentation, the biggest time sink came from traveling down that road of the seven personalities.
Yes.
And then the next most time you spent in going through the 7 criteria in terms of for the business health.
Mhm.
So those were the 2. And if you can, squeeze that down time-wise, you'll have your issue of getting into the 20 minutes because
Yeah,
Donna got you 21, I got you 22 minutes.
yeah.
So those 2 things, particularly if you indicate that those things will be uh, received at the end of the meeting,
Mhm.
and that you can then have it. You could race through those 7 things a lot faster for
Yeah.
the dogs. So it's just a thought if you're looking to economize on time because you're spending time appropriately for the strength of building the presentation.
Okay.
Um,
Well,
so
fortunately,
those
as I say, the actual time is will be 30 minutes. So I can first of all I can take things a little bit slower actually if I need to, but I've got a few things to add on for those 30 minutes.
okay, so
And
that's good.
yeah, great. No, actually, you guys, thanks a lot. This is the third time this is my third run of it. And between the 2 of you, you've given more and better feedback than I have received in the other 2 combined. Really, really appreciate that. This has been very helpful.
Well, I'm going to turn the recording off right now, and hopefully, someone within the club will be able to go into the. Okay, let me just turn off the recordings. Okay, stop